I used to spend over $800 a month at the grocery store. Just me and my partner. No big family, no special diet, just two people buying what felt normal. Then I started paying attention. Not in a couponing obsession way, just actually looking at what we were putting in the cart. And I realized something uncomfortable. Maybe 60% of what we bought was either replaceable with something cheaper or completely unnecessary in the first place. That was 2 years ago. Last month we spent $312. Same meals. Better quality on a few things. Zero deprivation. I'm going to walk you through the 15 groceries I now buy every single month without fail. These aren't random budget tips. These are the items that carry the most value per dollar in 2026, based on nutrition, shelf life, versatility, and price stability. Some of them you already buy. Some of them you've been ignoring for years. And one of them, I'll be honest, I was genuinely embarrassed it took me this long to figure out. You'll know it when we get to number 9. If you're new here, hit subscribe now. We talk about practical money and consumer strategy every week. No fluff, no sponsored segments, just real information. Let's get into it. Now, before I go through the list, I want to say something. This isn't about eating sad food. It isn't about skipping meals or buying the worst version of everything. Every item on this list is something I genuinely enjoy eating. The goal is maximum value, not maximum misery. Keep that in mind as we go through this. Item number 1. Dried lentils. Let's start with the one that has earned its place at the top of my pantry, month after month. Dried lentils. A 2-pound bag of dried lentils costs somewhere between $2 and $3 at most grocery stores. Walmart, Aldi, Kroger, they all carry it. That 2-pound bag contains somewhere around 25 to 30 servings of cooked lentils, depending on how you use them. That's a per serving cost of around 10 cents. Lentils are one of the most nutritionally complete plant foods you can buy. High in protein, high in fiber, full of iron and folate. They cook in about 20 minutes with no soaking required, which puts them ahead of most other dried legumes for convenience. I started buying lentils seriously about 18 months ago, when I was looking for a way to stretch ground meat further. I'd add a cup of cooked lentils to a pound of ground beef for tacos or pasta sauce, and honestly, the texture difference was minimal. The flavor difference was zero, but the cost difference was significant. What I didn't expect was how versatile lentils turned out to be on their own. Lentil soup, lentil curry, lentils over rice with a fried egg, cold lentil salad with vinegar and herbs. The list goes on. Buy a 2-pound bag every month. Keep it in a sealed container in the pantry. It lasts over a year. This one item alone can reduce your monthly food spend meaningfully if you use it consistently. You don't want to be caught without a protein source when the rest of your budget gets tight. This is your insurance. Item number 2. Frozen broccoli. Fresh vegetables are great. They're also expensive, inconsistent in quality, and they go bad fast. Frozen broccoli is none of those things. A 1-pound bag of frozen broccoli runs about $1 to $1.50, depending on the store. The same amount of fresh broccoli costs 2 to 3 times that, and you have a narrow window to use it before it starts yellowing. Frozen broccoli is picked at peak ripeness and flash frozen, which means the nutritional value is comparable, or in some cases better than fresh produce that sat in a truck for 4 days. I know frozen vegetables get dismissed as inferior. I used to think that too. Then I started reading actual nutritional comparisons from university food science departments, and the picture is a lot more complicated than the fresh is always better assumption. Frozen broccoli works perfectly in stir fries, pasta dishes, soups, rice bowls, omelets, and as a simple roasted side. You pull out exactly what you need and put the rest back. No waste. Buy 2 or 3 bags every month. You'll always have a vegetable ready, and your grocery bill will reflect it immediately. This is about protecting your budget without sacrificing nutrition. Frozen broccoli does both. Item number 3. Canned tomatoes. If your pantry doesn't have at least 4 cans of whole or crushed tomatoes right now, you're making cooking harder than it needs to be. A 28-ounce can of crushed tomatoes costs around 80 cents to $1.20 at most stores. That one can become pasta sauce, soup base, shakshuka, chili, braised meat, or pizza sauce. It is one of the most transformative pantry ingredients that exists. Canned tomatoes have a shelf life of 2 to 3 years. The quality doesn't meaningfully degrade. And unlike fresh tomatoes, which are genuinely terrible for most of the year outside of summer, canned tomatoes are consistently good because they're processed at peak season. I keep at least 6 cans in my pantry at all times. I've been doing this for years. When I don't know what to cook, I look at what protein I have, look at the tomatoes, and figure it out from there. It has never failed me. Hunt's and Muir Glen are reliable brands. Store-brand canned tomatoes from Aldi or Walmart's Great Value line are just as good in most applications. Buy 4 cans every month. Rotate your stock. Never run out. This one item will quietly improve your cooking and your budget at the same time. Item number 4. Eggs. Eggs have had a rough couple of years on price. But even at current prices, which have stabilized significantly from the peaks we saw in 2022 and 2023, eggs remain one of the best value foods available per gram of protein. A dozen large eggs right now runs between $3 and $5 at most major retailers. Each egg contains about 6 grams of high-quality protein, plus healthy fats, vitamin D, B12, and choline. The cost per gram of protein from eggs is still lower than almost every other animal protein source. What I notice is that people either buy eggs every week as a habit, or they've quietly started buying them less because of the price spike and never reset. If you're in the second group, it's worth doing the math again. Eggs have come down. They're still worth it. I eat eggs 3 or 4 times a week. Scrambled in the morning, fried on top of rice at night, hard-boiled for a protein snack. They take 5 minutes to cook, and they keep for 3 to 5 weeks in the fridge. Buy 2 dozen every month. Adjust up if your household is larger. Eggs are load-bearing protein in any budget kitchen. Don't let the price volatility of the past few years scare you away from one of the most reliable foods in your budget. Item number 5. Oats. Nobody talks about oats the way they should. This is one of the cheapest, most filling, most nutritionally solid foods you can buy, and it gets ignored because it seems boring. A 42-ounce container of old-fashioned rolled oats, the Quaker Oats canister, or the store-brand equivalent, costs around $4 to $5. That's roughly 30 servings. The per-meal cost is around 15 cents. Oats keep for months. They're high in fiber, specifically a soluble fiber called beta-glucan that has well-documented effects on cholesterol and blood sugar stability. They fill you up for hours, and they're genuinely flexible in how you can use them. I make overnight oats 2 or 3 times a week. I also use oats in smoothies for extra thickness. I've used them as a binder in meatballs when I ran out of breadcrumbs. They work. The important thing is to buy old-fashioned rolled oats, not the instant-flavored packets. The packets are more expensive per serving, contain added sugar and sodium, and they spike blood sugar faster. The plain oats take 5 minutes on the stove or 0 minutes if you prep them overnight. There's no real trade-off. Buy 1 large container a month. It will cover breakfast multiple times a week for a fraction of what cereal costs. This is about starting your day without spending $3 per bowl on processed grain products that don't even keep you full. Item number 6. Dry pinto or black beans. I know, I already mentioned lentils. But beans deserve their own spot because they serve a slightly different role, and they are equally remarkable in what they offer for the price. A 1-pound bag of dry pinto or black beans costs around $1.50 to $2. That expands significantly when cooked. You're looking at roughly 6 cups of cooked beans from 1 pound dry. That's 8 to 10 servings. Yes, beans require soaking. Yes, they take a while to cook. But if you batch cook them on a Sunday, which takes about 90 minutes of mostly passive time, you have beans ready to use all week. Or you cook them in a slow cooker overnight and wake up with a week's worth of protein. Black beans go into tacos, burritos, rice bowls, soups, and dips. Pinto beans work the same way. Plus, they're essential for refried beans, which is one of the most underrated budget foods in existence. A homemade side of refried pinto beans with eggs costs almost nothing, and it is genuinely satisfying. I batch cook beans every other week. I store them in quart containers in the fridge. They last 5 to 6 days easily. I also freeze portions for later, which extends that significantly. Buy 1 bag of each per month. Cook them in batches. Stop paying 3 times as much for canned beans when the only difference is convenience. Your food budget will feel different within 30 days if you make this one switch. Item number 7. White rice is one of the most consumed staple foods in the world for a reason. It is cheap, it stores indefinitely, it pairs with almost anything, and it is filling. A 5-pound bag of long-grain white rice costs around $4 to $6, depending on brand and store. That's roughly 25 to 30 cooked cups of rice, which translates to roughly 50 half-cup servings as a side dish. The per-serving cost is around 10 to 12 cents. I've seen the content warning people off white rice because it lacks fiber compared to brown. That's true. But brown rice is still inexpensive, still highly useful, and still a dramatically better value than pasta, bread, potatoes, or most other starches at this price point. If you prefer brown rice, buy brown rice. The core point stands. Rice is the base layer of a budget kitchen. It goes under beans, under stir-fry, under curry, alongside eggs, inside stuffed peppers, into soup. It absorbs flavour. It fills people up. It doesn't go bad. I keep a 10-pound bag in the pantry at all times. I cook it 2 or 3 times a week. I've been doing this for years and I genuinely don't feel like I'm eating a deprivation diet. It's just food that works. Buy a 5-pound bag every month or a 10-pound bag every 2 months. This is non-negotiable in a budget pantry. Item number 8. Cabbage. Here's one that most people walk right past. Cabbage. A whole head of green cabbage costs between $1 and $2 at most stores. Depending on the size, that head contains somewhere between 8 and 12 servings of cooked or raw cabbage. The cost per serving is around 15 cents. Cabbage is one of the most nutritionally underrated vegetables available. It's high in vitamin C, vitamin K, and various antioxidants. It keeps in the refrigerator for up to 2 weeks without wilting or losing quality. And it works in an enormous range of preparations. Raw cabbage becomes coleslaw. Sliced thin and sautéed with garlic and olive oil, it becomes a side dish that takes 8 minutes and costs almost nothing. Add it to soups in the last 10 minutes for texture and bulk. Make stuffed cabbage if you're ambitious. Stir-fry it with any protein you have on hand. I started buying cabbage after watching food prices go up and realizing I needed a vegetable that lasted longer than 3 days. Cabbage solved that problem completely. I always have a half head in the fridge now, and it quietly goes into meals throughout the week in ways my family barely notices. Buy 1 head per month, sometimes 2. It will outlast almost every other fresh vegetable in your fridge, and it will earn its place every single time. Item number 9. Canned sardines or mackerel. This is the one I mentioned in the hook. And yes, I was embarrassed it took me this long. A can of sardines in olive oil or water costs between $1 and $2. It contains around 23 grams of protein, significant amounts of omega-3 fatty acids, calcium, vitamin D, and B12. It requires 0 cooking. It lasts 2 to 3 years in your pantry. I avoided sardines for years because of the reputation. The smell, the texture, the vibe. And then I was on a tight week. I had sardines in the cabinet, and I made sardines on toast with a squeeze of lemon and some hot sauce. It took 4 minutes. It was genuinely good. Canned sardines and mackerel are some of the most nutritionally dense, cost-effective, ready-to-eat proteins available. Nutritionists and longevity researchers have been saying this for years. The problem is that sardines have an image problem, and that image problem is costing people real money. I now keep 8 to 10 cans in my pantry at all times. I eat them once or twice a week. on crackers, in pasta, in a quick salad with olive oil and capers, or just straight out of the can over rice. It sounds unglamorous, it costs about $1.50 and takes 4 minutes, and it keeps me full for hours. If you can get past the idea of it, sardines will change your food budget meaningfully. Wild-caught sardines from brands like Wild Planet or King Oscar are available at Costco, Amazon, and most major grocery stores. Trader Joe's has an excellent house brand at a very competitive price. Buy 6 cans a month. Give it 3 attempts before you decide it isn't for you. Most people who actually try it come around quickly. This is about eating like someone who knows the actual nutritional value of food, not like someone following aesthetic food trends. Item number 10. Frozen spinach. Fresh spinach is one of the most deceptive grocery store purchases you can make. You buy a 5-ounce bag of baby spinach for $4, it looks full, and within 2 days it has wilted to almost nothing. Half of it goes into the trash. A 10-ounce box of frozen spinach costs around $1.50. It lasts indefinitely in your freezer. When you thaw it and squeeze out the water, you're left with a concentrated block of spinach that is nutritionally nearly identical to fresh. Frozen spinach is invisible in smoothies. It disappears into pasta sauces. It blends into soups. It goes into scrambled eggs without changing the texture significantly. It is one of the easiest ways to add nutrition to meals without anyone, including yourself, noticing much. I switched to frozen spinach about a year ago, and I genuinely cannot identify a real downside. The cost difference over a year is substantial when you factor in fresh spinach waste. Buy 2 boxes a month. Keep them in the freezer, thaw and use as needed. Stop paying 3 times as much for fresh spinach that you're partially throwing away. Item number 11. Peanut butter. Peanut butter has gone up in price over the past 2 years. It used to be closer to $2 for a 16-ounce jar. Now you're looking at $3 to $4 for the same size. Despite that, it remains one of the strongest value protein and fat sources available in any grocery store. A 16-ounce jar of peanut butter contains roughly 32 tablespoons. At 2 tablespoons per serving, that's 16 servings. Each serving contains 8 grams of protein and 16 grams of healthy fat. At $4 a jar, you're paying 25 cents per serving for a filling, nutritionally complete snack or meal component. Peanut butter on whole grain bread. Peanut butter stirred into oatmeal. Peanut butter sauce over rice noodles with soy sauce and a little vinegar. Peanut butter with an apple or banana. The versatility is enormous. I buy the natural peanut butter, just peanuts and salt, rather than the Jif or Skippy style with added sugar and hydrogenated oils. At Costco, you can get a large jar of natural peanut butter for around $1 per serving or less. Trader Joe's has a well-priced option as well. Buy 1 or 2 jars a month depending on your household. Store it in the fridge once opened to prevent oil separation and extend freshness. Peanut butter is quiet, unglamorous, and genuinely one of the best things in a budget kitchen. Don't overlook it because it seems too simple. Item number 12. Bananas. Bananas are the cheapest fruit available in most American grocery stores, and they've stayed that way for years. The average price is still around 19 to 29 cents per banana, depending on the store and region. Bananas are portable. They require no preparation. They provide quick energy, potassium, vitamin B6, and fiber. They're sweet enough to satisfy a craving for something that isn't a full dessert. I buy a bunch of bananas every single week. I eat one most mornings. When they get too ripe, I peel them and freeze them. Frozen bananas become smoothie bases or the foundation for a 2-ingredient nice cream that honestly satisfies a dessert craving better than most things. No fresh fruit in this price range comes close to the value of bananas. Apples are more expensive. Oranges are more expensive. Berries are significantly more expensive. Buy a bunch every week, which amounts to roughly 4 to 5 bunches per month. It's one of the easiest, cheapest ways to keep fruit in your diet without derailing your budget. Item number 13. Whole chicken. Buying a whole chicken is something a lot of people have stopped doing, and I think that's a mistake. A whole chicken at most grocery stores, Kroger, Walmart, Aldi, runs between $5 and $8 depending on size and brand. That one chicken, cooked properly, can feed 2 to 4 people for multiple meals. You roast it on Sunday, you eat it that night. The leftovers become chicken tacos Monday. The carcass becomes stock Tuesday. Boneless, skinless chicken breasts cost significantly more per pound than a whole bird. You're paying for someone else to do the butchering and processing, and you're giving up the bones, the skin, the fat, and the carcass, all of which have culinary value. I started buying whole chickens instead of breasts about a year and a half ago. It felt like more effort. It wasn't. Roasting a chicken takes 10 minutes of actual work. You put it in the oven and you leave it alone. The stock situation alone justified the switch. Homemade chicken stock from a carcass costs almost nothing and is dramatically better than anything from a carton. I make it in a slow cooker overnight. It's practically free and it improves every soup and rice dish I cook. Buy 1 to 2 whole chickens per month. Learn to roast them simply. Learn to make stock from the carcass. You'll spend less money and eat better food. Item number 14. Olive oil. Olive oil has gotten expensive. That's real. But buying olive oil and using it as your primary cooking fat is still one of the best long-term decisions for both your health and your food budget. Here's why it makes the budget list despite the higher price. Olive oil has a flavor that makes simple, cheap food taste good. Lentils cooked with olive oil taste richer. Cabbage sautéed in olive oil becomes something you actually want to eat. Bread with olive oil is satisfying in a way that feels indulgent but isn't. A 34-ounce bottle of good olive oil runs between $10 and $15 depending on source and brand. At the Costco price point, which is excellent, you're paying around $11 for a large tin. That covers a month or more of cooking for most households. I buy California Olive Ranch or the Costco Kirkland Extra Virgin Oil, and I've been happy with both. The flavor is noticeably better than cheaper vegetable oil blends. And that matters when your other ingredients are simple and inexpensive. You don't need to use a lot of it. A tablespoon or 2 per cooking session goes a long way. The cost per use is genuinely small when you break it down. Buy 1 bottle per month. Store it away from heat and light. Let it be the thing that makes your cheap ingredients taste like real cooking. Item number 15. Greek yogurt. The last item on the list. And it earns its place because it does something rare. It functions as breakfast, as a snack, as a sauce base, and as a substitute for sour cream and mayonnaise in several applications. A 32-ounce container of plain full fat or 2% Greek yogurt costs around $5 to $7. That container holds about 4 to 6 servings depending on how you use it. Each serving contains 15 to 17 grams of protein and meaningful amounts of calcium and probiotics. Plain Greek yogurt on its own with a banana and some honey is a satisfying breakfast that takes 90 seconds to prepare. Mixed with garlic and herbs, it becomes a sauce or dip. Thinned with a little lemon juice, it replaces sour cream in tacos. It goes into overnight oats. It goes into smoothies. I buy the Phage 2%. Or the Kirkland Plain Greek Yogurt from Costco, which offers outstanding value. The store brands at Aldi and Trader Joe's are also solid. The key is buying plain. The flavored versions cost more, contain significant added sugar, and give you far less flexibility in how you use the yogurt. Buy 1 large container per month. Use it across multiple meal contexts. Let it replace more expensive snacks and breakfast foods. This is protein that pulls multiple shifts. That's exactly what you need in a budget kitchen. So there you have it, 15 items. Most of them cost under $3. All of them earn their place month after month. But here's the pattern I want you to notice. Every single item on this list shares something in common. They're all flexible. They all work in more than one meal context. They're all shelf-stable or freezer-friendly or have long refrigerator lives. And not one of them is a processed product that somebody spent marketing money convincing you to buy. The grocery store is designed to move your attention toward the center aisles, toward the brightly packaged items with high margins and clever branding. The perimeter and the basics aisle, that's where the value lives. That's where this list comes from. The people who feel squeezed by grocery prices right now aren't necessarily buying bad food. They're often buying fine food that's simply priced poorly relative to what it offers. Swapping toward more dried legumes, more frozen vegetables, more whole proteins, and basic pantry ingredients doesn't feel like a sacrifice when the meals you make from those ingredients are genuinely good. Most people won't make these changes until the pressure is strong enough to force them. You don't have to wait for that. You can look at this list today and make a different choice at the checkout line next week. That's the real point here. Not panic, not deprivation, just clarity about what actually feeds you well for the least money. And once you internalize that, once shopping this way becomes your baseline, you stop feeling like your budget is controlling you. You start feeling like you're controlling it. That's where I want you to be. If you made it this far, thank you. Genuinely. This is the kind of content I wish someone had handed me 5 years ago when I was still guessing my way through the grocery store. Hit subscribe if you haven't. Every week I put out practical consumer and money content that actually connects to the decisions you make in real life. No vague advice, no affiliate clickbait. Just what I've figured out and what I think is worth sharing. Leave a comment and tell me, which item on this list surprised you most? And if there's something you buy every month that you think deserves a spot on a list like this, I want to hear it. I'll see you in the next one. Take care of yourself out there.